Hey guys, we're back with the notes for 8.5. We are going to start moving into how to graph polynomials without technology. So you are going to try to do all of 8.5 without a calculator, okay? Super important. I will talk you through every piece of it, okay? So to begin, we want to make sure that we understand what end behavior looks like, and we're going to make most of those decisions for the shape of our graph based on whether the degree is odd or even. Remember, that's the highest exponent. And then whether or not the leading coefficient is positive or negative. So I am going to have you pause the screen, copy what you see, and then we'll get started. Perfect. Okay, so if I focus right now on my odd polynomials means the exponent is a 1, exponent is a 3, 5, 7, etc. We know that a linear with power of 1 looks like this. We know that our cubic parent function looks like this. And our quintic parent function looks like this, okay? All of those, if they are in their original parent function, where their leading coefficient is positive, whether it's a positive 1, positive 2, positive 3, the right side always goes up forever and the left side always goes down forever. That means that the x's and y's should be the same. If x is positive, y is positive. If the x is negative, the y is negative, okay? Now, we see that they are opposite directions, right? The y's on one side are going the opposite direction as the y's on the other side. So kind of try to keep track of what we're saying is the same and what we're saying is opposite. Right now, I'm saying that the x and the y are trending the same direction, okay? The y's in general are moving in opposite directions. Going into a negative coefficient, I'm saying that I'm going to flip that. So if I think about taking this and flipping him down, taking this and flipping him up, now I'm going opposite directions. Whichever way my x is going, the y is going the opposite. Whichever way my x is going, the y is going the opposite. So if x gets more positive, the y gets more negative. That's this way. If the x is moving left in the negative, the y is moving more positive. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and talk the same thing with even functions. So even functions are going to be like our parabola x squared, our parent function for quartic, and then our power function for the 6th degree. Okay, all of those, if they have a positive leading coefficient, means that they are moving in the positive direction. Because if I square anything or take any number to the 4th power, it's going to come out even. It's going to come out, going to come out to a whole number. So these y's are always going to come out the same, and they're always going to come out positive. If I make that negative over here, that means the y's are going to be the same, but they're going to be in the negative direction. Okay, no matter what. All right, if you would, take a minute, pause the screen, copy anything you missed, and let's go ahead and move on to the next page. We are going to go through 3 problems. I'm going to zoom out to start. We're going to go through 3 problems. Remember, we are graphing without a calculator. So the expectation is not that it is perfect. The expectation is that you're hitting a couple critical points and you understand the basic trend of the graph. Okay? All right, hopefully you've paused it, copied what you see. Let's move on. So problem 1, I want to talk to you first about how I'm getting my table, okay? If you ever needed to give exact points, I always suggest you use these guys. So -1, 0, and a positive 1. Because I can come over here and say, all right, 1 to the 3rd power is 1. 1 squared is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. And 1 is by itself. If I add all those are positives, I get 5. So 1, 5 is going to be one of my points. Go ahead and graph him real quick. 1, 5. Okay. I can do the same thing with a -1. So if I plug in -1 cubed, I get -1. -1 squared, I get +1. 2 times -1, I get -2. And I got a +1 on the end. All right, these guys cancel out. -2 plus 1 is a -1. So -1 goes to -1. Your 0 is actually the first thing I want to talk about. Your 0 is always going to be your y-intercept. So my y-intercept is 0, 1. Okay? All right, from here, let's talk about some conclusions I can make about my equation. I know my equation's name and his degree based on this highest exponent in my first term. So my name is cubic. That's what we use when it's to the third power. And his degree is a 3. That's going to tell me my shape. Right now, I know that my shape is odd. And I know that my leading coefficient out here is positive. That tells me which direction I'm going to go. Odd, but positive means it's going to shape like this. Okay? All right, that means my x's, when they go negative, my y's go negative also. And when my x's go positive, my y's go positive. That means I need to make sure that my graph is facing this way and this way when I connect my dots. Okay? All right, based on the dots that I have, we're going to go ahead and connect that. We don't have to be super fancy with the connection as long as we hit the points that we know. So if it was me, I would do this. Okay? Nothing fancy, just a little bit of a curve in there, okay? All right, let's go ahead and talk about the next one. So again, when I start off, I'm going to get a couple power points. If it was me, I would focus on these three. So -1, +1, and then if you wanted to do 2's, you could. So if I said -1 cubed is a -1, with an extra negative makes it positive. -1 squared is +1. 3 times -1 is -3, and then I have a -3. 2 minus 6 gives me -4. That's my first point over here. Okay, if I did +1, this is going to give me -1, +1. I can just use the coefficients. +3, -3. All right, these cancel, so that means that 1 goes to 0. I can get my 0 from my y-intercept. Remember that that is just matching up with this. 0, -3. Let's go ahead and map those out. So -1, -4, 0, -3, and 1, 0. All right, doesn't give me a great shape because if I'm looking at my information that I know, my degree and my name come from this guy. He's cubic again. He's got a degree of 3 again, but this time I notice right in here that there is a negative, which means this guy is still an odd function, but now he's negative. My graph has to be shaped like this. That means when my x goes negative, my y goes the opposite direction. He goes to positive infinity. When my x goes positive, my y goes the opposite. He goes to negative infinity. So that means there's more shape to this because I'm going to have to get it to go this way. Let's see if we can plug in for a -2 and a +2 to get some more information. Okay. All right, -2 cubed is a -8. With an extra negative is +8. -2 squared is +4. 3 times a -2 is a -6, and then -3. 12 minus 9 gives us 3. I'm going to add him on there. -2 is going to go to 3. All right, so we can see it curving back up. Let's try +2. +2 to the third power is 8, so -8. +2 squared is 4. 3 times 2 is 6, and then -3. I've got -4 plus 3 gives me a -1. So 2 is going to go to -1. Now we can see it starting to make its direction. So if I was going to connect this, I know it needs to be facing, this way and then down to this way. So I would start it out hitting him, curving back up and down and around. Now I can make it face the way I want it to face. Okay? All right, if you missed anything on those top two, let me zoom out. You can pause it, copy it down. We're going to do one more. This time I'm not going to talk you through where I'm getting all the specific points. I'm just going to have you write that down, okay? All right, so focusing on the name this time. Name is a 4th power, 4th degree. We call that quartic. Okay, so quartic is 4, like core, okay? Quartic. Y-intercept is going to be 0, 4. So that's the first point I know. And then if I plugged in -1 and +1, I would get 2 and I would get 0. All right, so looking at my value, I see that we're positive out here. So that means we're even and we're positive, which means my graph is going to go up and up fourth power means that it's not going to do like a parabola. It's going to have one little hump in it. So like this. Okay, kind of like a W. I put a couple little arrows on here so I know I need to go up in both directions. That high point in the middle is probably the top of my W. But if you wanted to find a couple more points, you could do that. You could plug in 2. You could plug in -2. But I have enough information to graph what I have. I would probably go through it like this. I would say he probably comes down here somewhere. Up, down, and up. It gets me close enough that I know what it looks like. Okay? All right. If you have any questions, you could pause it, copy it. Otherwise, there are 3 videos for 8.5. Please make sure you watch the next one.